thanks, Lord, our praise, Lord. We thank you, Lord. We praise you for this night, Lord. We do come and worship you, Lord. We do want to worship you in spirit and in truth, Lord. And we thank you for your faithfulness as you gather your people, Lord, that we might come to worship you, Lord. And what a joyous time it is as we lift our songs of praise and worship, Lord. We lift our hearts, our lives afresh up to you this night. We thank you for your moving and your faithfulness. We thank you for your grace, Lord, and your mercy. New for us each and every morning, Lord. And we pray, Lord God, that as we worship you this night, you might continue to be blessed, Lord, as we learn of you, Lord, as we learn of you through the study of your word, Father. For those who aren't here with us, Lord, we think of our sister Dominique, who's in the, I guess, ER, Lord, getting some tests done right now. We just pray for your grace and your mercy upon her life, Lord. And such a young life it is, Lord, her life is. And we just pray your touch of healing, Lord, your touch of encouragement, Lord. And that spiritually she might be renewed, Lord, in you, Lord God. And we thank you, Lord. Lavon's there with her. And we thank you, Father. We praise you for the fellowship of believers, Lord. And we just pray again a good resolution to Dominique's condition. Bless us now as we continue to worship you through the study of the word. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Most of you guys don't know Dominique. She only comes on Sunday nights, and she's a graduate student, kind of way up there up at the UH, and she hasn't been feeling well. She was supposed to go for make an appointment for later on. They took her in. They did an interview and they took her right into the emergency room this afternoon. So I think Lavon's been there with her since earlier this afternoon, and they're just waiting on some tests and so on and so forth. So keep her in prayer. Just a young sister in the Lord, just a really nice young lady. And again, just keep her in prayer for God's healing touch. But why don't we turn our Bibles to Esther chapter 4. Esther chapter 4. I hope you guys had a great week. I know it's kind of, I don't know why, it's kind of run down. I never drink coffee on Wednesday night, so but I had a cup and a half today, so. I don't know, I think it's the warm weather. I should move it over here with the AC, it's nice. We're actually going through Esther chapter 4, but I'm stuck on the last portion in Esther chapter 3. Why don't we pick up our study tonight in Esther chapter 3, verse 10. We'll read through these verses and just make a little bit of a comment as we move on into chapter 4. Then the king took his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. And the king said to Haman, the silver is yours and the people also. Do with them as you please. And the king's scribes were summoned on the 13th day of the first month, and it was written just as Haman commanded, to the king's satraps and to the governors who were in each province, and the princes of each people, each province according to its script, each people according to its language, being written in the name of King Ahasuerus and sealed with the king's signet ring. You know, what strikes me here is the king is so cavalier. He says, hey, do with the silver. I don't care about the money, and whatever you want to do with these people, just go ahead and do it. Here's the ring. Go make the proclamation. You take care of it. I don't really care. You know, his signet ring stamped the paperwork, and you know, it was a done deal. You know, with this vast range of the Persian Empire, instructions were translated into many different languages, spelling out the king's mandate. In other words, the king says, you know, this certain day, this particular day, you're going to have open season on the Jews. You go out, if this is law, you're going to kill the Jews. The verse 13 says, the letters were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces to kill, to destroy, to annihilate all the Jews, both young and old. the women and children in one day, the 13th day of the 12th month, which is in the month of Adar, and to seize the possessions as plunder. And how do you like that? If that would be something like, all the Christians, you can go out and kill all the Christians, men, women, boys and girls, young or old. This is the decree, but this was happening to the Jewish people. The instructions were to kill and annihilate. And this word annihilate is such a powerful word. The primary root of the word is to perish. You know, if you annihilate a race of people, they're going to be perished. They're going to be perished. They're going to be gone. More literally, the word it means broken, corrupted, destroyed, made to vanish, made to perish, obliterate. Hey, can you think of that? You know, all the line of people obliterated off the earth. They were ruined. They would be utterly destroyed. They were wasted. They were wiped out. And I'm not talking about, hey, I went surfing and I got wiped out. I'm not talking about going to work and having a hard days of work and you just say, man, I'm so wiped out, I'm so tired. But these guys were literally going to be annihilated. They were literally going to be killed. The king says, this is the decree. And you know, Haman was such an evil guy. He had twisted the king around, and the king just said, hey, do what you want to do. Do you think Haman could have chosen a more sinister word to orchestrate a more dastardly deed of murder? On top of this, it applied to all of the Jews. In other words, whether you were in Jerusalem and left back in Jerusalem, or you were Jews throughout the nation, the area of Persia, no matter where you were, they would be utterly wiped out. They would be utterly destroyed. They would be murdered. No one was exempt. Young, old, women and children, no one was exempt from this law. Try to make this job of murder even more an attraction. They were to plunder all the possessions of the Jews. It's like, oh, here's a little bonus for killing off the people. You get to keep all their possessions, all their gold, all their silver, all their property, all their money. But a copy of the edict was to be issued as law, and every province was published for all the people so that they could be ready for this day. The couriers went out and, impelled by the king's command, while the decree was issued in Susa, the capital, and while the king and Haman sat down to drink, the city of Susa was in confusion. Here again, I'm stuck with this fact. I believe the king was more interested in not in his people, his subjects, but he was more interested in getting to the happy hour. It's let's hoist a few or everything else will all work out. He didn't care. He just said, hey, here's the decree, go out, do your thing, but we're going to just sit down, we're going to drink, and we're going to get loaded, and everything's going to work out. The capital city of Susa was in confusion. Now, if you think that Babylon was a fabulous place, Babylon was the capital of Babylonia, but now Susa was the capital of the kingdom of Persia, the empire of Persia. The word they use in the NASB is confusion. I like the NIV. It says the people were bewildered. And you kind of think that the whole people of the city, they're thinking, what in the world is going on? But this word confusion simply means perplexed, confused, to wander aimlessly. And this was the heart of the people. They say, what is the king doing? Why does he want us to wipe out these people? You know that these people might have thought, what in the world is going on? We work with the Jewish community, we do business with them, we're neighbors, we're friends, our kids go to school together, our kids play together, and how can we do this act of murder? It must have been the thought of many. And most guys, even if you're a sinner, you're far away from God or you're close to God, but you're not saved or anything like that, you gotta think that it takes a pretty creepy, heinous person to say, hey, I'm going to go on and just in stone cold murder. I'm going to kill my neighbor just because of the fact that he's a Jew. And many of the people were wondering, what in the world is going on? What is our king thinking about? How can we do this act of murdering our neighbors? These guys might have been friends. And it's just like saying, hey, go out there, kill your friend. And Mordecai learned all that had been done. He tore his clothes, chapter 4, verse 1. He put on sackcloth and ashes, and he went out into the midst of the city and wailed loudly and bitterly. And he went out as far as the king's gate, for no one could enter the king's gate clothed in sackcloth. But in each and every province there was a command and decree of the king came, and there was great mourning among the Jews with fasting, weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. Mordecai exhibits the heart of the Father, guys. It's an utter grief and disbelief at what was going on. He was grieved and devastated by the death sentence that hung over his people. In other words, I don't think he really cared about his life, but he cared about all his neighbors. He cared about all his friends. He cared about all his family. Even the guys he didn't get along with. He kind of cared about them. You know, the sentence of death hung over them. And turning out and throughout the entire terrain of this mighty Persian Empire, the Jews bewailed their fate. You know, the Jewish people probably had proliferated throughout the land, and there was a lot going on. And again, the Jewish people were just in utter amazement, disbelief, and they were wailing at their fate that was coming. But Esther's maiden and her eunuchs came and told her, the queen writhed in great anguish. She sent garments to clothe Mordecai that he might remove his sackcloth from him, but he did not accept them. With the heart of a loving daughter, we can see that here, Esther, she herself writhed in great anguish. She felt the pain that her uncle felt, and she seeks to provide acceptable clothing, appropriate for normal situations. She wasn't aware of what was causing this great trauma in her uncle's life. Apparently, in the king's palace, they didn't know what was going on. They were privy to this decree, and again, she was protected. It's not like, hey, you gotta be bothered by this, Queen Esther. And yet she found out that her uncle was really in a terrible place. She herself felt the pain that her uncle was in. 5-8 says, and Esther summoned Hathach from the king's eunuchs who the king had appointed to attend to her, and ordered them to go to Mordecai to learn what this was and why it was. So Hathach went out to Mordecai to the city square in front of the king's gate, and Mordecai told him all that happened to him and the exact amount of money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasury for the destruction of the Jews. He also gave a copy of the text of the edict which has been issued in Susa for the destruction, that he might show Esther and inform her, to order her to go to the king to implore his favor and to plead with him for her people. One Bible commentary says that the 10,000 talents of silver was like 375 tons of silver. Can you imagine 375 tons of silver? Remember the old silver dollars that used to be around? That weighs 1 ounce. Now can you think of how many silver dollars it would take to come up with 375 tons of silver? This is what Haman had promised the king. The king said, don't even worry about it. It's just chump change to me. But this is what was going on. The heart of this, notice that the protocol dictated a go-between between the queen and Mordecai. It was this entrusted servant of the king who loyally served the queen. And I believe that, Esther, filled with the grace of God, filled with the graciousness and the love of God, had made many friends within the house of the king. And this guy was an entrusted servant who loyally served the queen. The queen probably had great trust in this one Hathach. True to his assignment, he gathered all the pertinent information that would lead up to the destruction of the Jews. In other words, he went back, he carefully relayed all this information. Hey, this is what's coming down. The Jewish people are going to be annihilated on this day. This is the king's edict. We're going to wipe out an entire race of people just because of their national heritage. And 9-11 says, and Hathach came back and related Mordecai's words to Esther. And Esther spoke to Hathach and ordered him to reply to Mordecai, all the king's servants and all the people of the king's province know that any man or woman who comes to the king, to the inner court, who is not summoned, he has one law, that he be put to death unless the king holds out to him the golden scepter that he might live. And I have not been summoned to come to the king for these 30 days. She says, hey, the king hasn't summoned me into his presence. If I go there and he doesn't receive me, the sentence of death is going to hang over me. And the servants relayed the response to Mordecai. He responds, and what's interesting here is Mordecai went as far as to order Esther to go to the king and speak on the behalf of the Jewish people. It says right here, he might show Esther and inform her to order her to go to the king to implore his favor. What is that word favor, guys? It's that word grace. It's that word grace. And as we kind of think about it, as we go to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, we much of the times we're imploring his favor. We're asking for his favor. This thing would dominate her medical condition. We pray, Lord, be favorable to this young lady. She's such a wonderful, beautiful, vibrant young sister in the Lord. And now, she's going through this time of uncertainty. Lord, give your favor. May your favor be upon her. May your favor be upon all these guys. A lot of guys going through tough times. I just got a call. We were sitting in the truck praying. I got a call from the Big Island. Another biker went down. And, he went down bad. One went down last week. Another died this afternoon. That's what I hear. So, a lot of things, just praying in the Spirit, hey, Lord, you have favor for their families. You have favor for their loved ones. Because all of this is ringing throughout the state. Things are going down. Things are happening. Esther, though, she was thinking that she was afraid, knowing that her intrusion into the king's inner court may be her own death sentence. In other words, if he doesn't receive me, I'm going to put to death myself, Mordecai. It's my life is on the line. And he's thinking about the lives of all the entirety of the Jewish people. And they related Esther's words to Mordecai, verse 12. And Mordecai told her to reply to Esther, do not imagine that you are in the king's palace can escape any more than all the Jews. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place. You and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have attained royalty for such a time as this. This is the real famous verse that we always say to everybody. Hey, how do you know that you haven't been raised up for such a time as this? But the servants related to the response of Mordecai. He responds, and don't think that you will be saved because of your place within the palace. He says that they don't think you're saved because you're the queen, so you're the queen, and the king is going to spare you, because this applies to all the Jews. You are a Jew. You have the sentence of death hanging over you. You ever feel like that? Sometimes Christians, people just don't like Christians. You ever feel like that? If you Muslim, if you Buddhist, if you Confucius, or you confused, whatever it might be. You can be a devil worshiper. You can be all of that. You're okay. You're politically correct. But if you're a Christian, you're in the back of the bus, brother. You have no rights, and you're not politically correct. And it's politically correct to bash the Christians, and this is exactly what's happening to the Jewish people. They were being bashed, and the sentence of death was hanging over you. And Mordecai tells her that God can and will use other means to save his people. In other words, God can do anything. He can use other guys to be raised up. He can use other means to be raised up. But how do you know? He says, think about it, pray about it. Perhaps you're in this place, in this realm, to help enact the salvation of the entire Jewish population. In other words, sometimes we're just in the right place at the right time. And at times we just don't know. We just might think that, we're in that right place at that right time. We just don't know. We just don't know where God has us. So we just kind of think, why are we here? What is this all about? Why am I stuck in this place? Am I here to minister to my boss? Am I here to minister to my neighbor? Am I here to minister to my coworker? What is it? And God can use other means. God can raise up other people. But how do you know that you haven't been raised up for just such a time as this to speak into that person's heart. You know, sometimes you choke, sometimes you don't speak up, sometimes you miss an opportunity, and you feel that, hey, there's no other chance, there's no other opportunity. And God has other opportunities, but somehow you kind of think that, God, what if I spoke up? What if I didn't choke? What if I did go and step out in faith? Yeah, I might have been ostracized, I might have been teased, I might have been, done this and that. You might have had your friends come and tease you, oh, you're a Jesus man, I know. We liked you better when he was rolling around in the aisles at the bar, or swinging from the lamps. But now you're a Jesus man, And that's what it is. But how do you know that God hasn't raised us up for such a time as this? And this is what it's about. Think about it, pray about it. I read between the lines, and that's exactly what Mordecai is telling her. Hey, think about it, pray about it. These are the things that are going on. And how do you know, if you haven't attained this place for royalty for such a time as this? Then Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, go assemble the Jews who are found in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day, and my maidens also will fast in that same way. And thus I will go into the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went away and just as Esther commanded. The words rang out clear and deliberate, with clear and deliberate meaning. Let's pray. Let's seek God for His grace and His mercy. Let's fast. Let's seek the Lord. If it is to be so that I am not received and that I perish, so be it. In other words, what Esther says is, it's not about me now. It's about all these people who are perishing unfairly, if it be that I am not received, that if I perish, so be it. I'll venture in faith and see if God will work and move on our behalf. We're here in the last part of Esther chapter 4, guys, the 15 through 17. And Mordecai's plea on behalf of the Jewish people speaks to Esther's heart. She is moved into action, but not without first calling out for the time of prayer and fasting. I doubt if many of us today will ever receive such a heavy assignment. It's not like, hey, people are going to live and die because we didn't speak, because we choked. Wait a minute. People are living, people are dying daily without the love of Jesus Christ. And it spurs us on to think that, hey, Lord, how do I know if I haven't been raised up for such a time as this, that I might speak into the heart and the life of that person? Even though that person is such a difficult person, even if that person doesn't like me, even if I'm going to get teased, even if I'm going to get ostracized even more, oh, you Christian, you hypocrite, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it might be, lives are in the process, guys. It doesn't compare to the salvation of an entire race of people. Yet we have been raised up for such a time as this, as right now, to be moved into ministry and ministry to people held captive and face certain death. I see it all the time. In my family, they're blank. They wrote me off. They rather have me wrestle a drunk, wrestle a drunk in the belligerent, They rather have that than the holy roller preaching. They want to silence me. Oh, you gotta keep it sharp, Russell. You gotta keep it sharp. And they don't want to hear it. They want to gnash their teeth. Some of them might want to smash my face when I get done with it. I have a way of irritating people, and I think the gospel irritates some people at times. And you gotta think that, Lord, give me the words of, give me grace. There's that word again. Give me that grace. Give me that favor. And I told one of my family members, I said, you know the thing about God, He gives grace. And she said, well, what is this grace? And I said, grace is getting something that you don't deserve. Not because I was good, not because I did right, but I could never do as good. I could never be as right as possible. But God gives me the grace that I have that salvation, that I have that hope. And I think that some of you, a lot of people just don't have that hope. They kind of think that, wow, what about life and death? And we think that they fear death. And, we all fear death. That's normal. But, for the believer, we know that death is just the next step into all eternity with Jesus Christ. It's not a leap of faith into some dark unknown. For the non-believer, they just don't know where they're going. For us, we know that we're going to be ushered right into heaven, right into the presence of the Lord for all eternity. Not that I have such a fascination with that, but believing and trusting and knowing that we will be with the Lord for all eternity. And it spurs me on that we should be moved into ministry and ministering to people held captive and face certain death. They're going to say, oh, Russell, you needed that religion because you were a lousy guy. You were really a lousy guy. And I said, yeah, I do, but we came for the lousy and the good. Because there's none good, no, not one. And they don't want to believe that. They say, wait a minute, I'm good. I think I can get on in my own merit. But no such thing. We're moved into ministry and ministering to people held captive and face certain death without the love of Jesus Christ. And that's the word, that's the name they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear about Jesus, a lot of people. Our job now is not just hold on to what we have. In other words, we're not saying that, hey, Lord, I got salvation. I don't care about those guys. Let them perish. But our job is to give it away. Freely as we have received, to give it away. We give it away in Christ. Give it away freely to those who have no hope. And, I don't know how it is, but sometimes God gives us that creativity to get people to listen. God gives us that creativity to make them to laugh. And sometimes we think that, this crowd I'm going to be speaking to, they're a bunch of stone cold guys that hang on to their money, they hang on to the belief that they're good and stuff like that. How do I make them laugh? How do I break the ice? How do I get through with the fact that we all need a Savior? And God raised us up, guys. I cannot tell you how to minister to your child or to your neighbor or to your coworker. But it's with that prayer and it's with that supplication that we ask God, how can we do this? How can we share the love of God? Lord, you have attained this royalty for such a time as this, Mordecai told Esther. And for each one of us, we have attained a common ground, an open window, an open door of opportunity for such a time as this. Sometimes it's real awkward, in the hospital. You're in a place that you got thrust into this place. People ask you to go visit them. The family doesn't know that you are coming. They think, who are you? Are you with the bikers? Hey, we're the guys that you guys are the ones that we try to get away from. My husband was trying to get away from. And he said, oh no, but I'm with Calvary Chapel. I got the Bible, see? Calvary Chapel, there's a Calvary Chapel in Kona, right? And he said, but I never had a chance to get to visit that church, And these are the things, and somehow you gotta kind of break the ice and massage them a little bit and say, hey, Jesus loves you. I don't know what went on, but I'm here to just pray for your husband. I'm here to pray for your husband. And most people, they want prayer. And most people, when you give them the word of God, it bears witness in their spirit. Whether they're far or they're close, you give them the word of God, it happens. Chapter 5 says, now it came about on the third day that Esther put on her royal robe and stood in the inner court of the king's palace in front of the king's rooms. And the king was sitting on his royal throne in the throne room opposite the entrance of the palace. And it happened when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, he obtained favor in his sight, And the king extended to Esther the golden scepter which had touched, which was in his hand. So Esther came near and touched the top of the scepter. See, notice here in verse 1 that it was on that third day that Esther put on her robes. And didn't she tell Mordecai to pray for 3 days? Pray and to fast for 3 days. And we'll see what happens. If I perish, I perish. If the king receives me, so be it. I'll go in and speak to him. On the third day, she went into the king's palace and stood there on the outer court opposite the entrance to the palace. And it happened when the king saw Esther. Do you think anything just happens or God orchestrates an appointment? It happened that the king saw Esther, and the king and she obtained favor in his sight. There's that word favor again, guys. Favor might be translated as grace. Favor is translated as grace. And the king extended to Esther the golden scepter. Esther came near and touched the top of the scepter. It was like that scepter was the symbol of his royal authority and his power. And the king said to her, "What is troubling you, Queen Esther? What is your request? Even to half the kingdom, it will be given to you." And already the king could see at least one thing, that in her heart she was troubled. And she wasn't playing a poker face. She wasn't saying, "Hey, everything is good, King." But on my heart there's something. This is the reason why I'm seeking your entrance. And the king says, "If it please the king, may the king and Haman come this day to the banquet that I prepared for him." And the king says, "Bring Haman quickly, that we may do as Esther desires." So the king and Haman came to the banquet which Esther had prepared. They drank their wine at the banquet. And the king says to Esther, "What is your petition? It shall be granted to you. And what is your request? Even to half the kingdom, it shall be done." Like much today, everything was done with a glass of wine. Everything was done with drinking. And I'm sorry to speak about drinking, but it just seems that every time I see King Ahasuerus, he's always drinking. And like our society today, guys, I'm so fascinated. I go to Costco, I see guys pushing out wagonfuls of wine. I go to Long's, I see the guys lifting up their 30-pack suitcase. It was so heavy, man. And the guys are just partying. And the king says, "Hey, let's have a few drinks." They drank their wine. "And what do you want, Esther?" And Esther answered him and said, "My petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, if it please the king to grant my petition and do what I request, may the king and Haman come to the banquet which I shall prepare for them tomorrow. I will do as the king says." The stage is being set, guys. Esther is leading up and building up to ask the king for favor for the Jewish people. And she says, "Hey, if I perish, I perish, but if the king says yes, so be it." Sometimes, again, it's that venture of faith, it's that step of faith that we take. As Pastor Chuck would often say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And for us to venture out in faith, to us to be called a holy roller. I know that I had friends before when I first became a Christian, they used to call me a born again. A born again. Was my other friend. These are guys like my brothers, and my older brothers too. They say, "Hey," one guy told my father, "Yeah, I heard your son is a Jesus man." And but after the fact, they became curious about Jesus. After the fact, sometimes the walls come down, and sometimes God just removes you from a place to work in your heart, to work in their heart, and then God gives an opportunity to go back and to share the love of Jesus Christ with them. Don't give up. Don't give up praying. Don't give up petitioning the Lord on their behalf. It might take 15 years. It might take 10 years. It might take 15 years. It might take 25 years. I don't know if I have all these biker stories, but this one bad guy, his wife used to take him to church. He said, "Oh, Russell, my wife used to take me to church. I sit in the front pew. I fall asleep. He take me again. I sit in the front pew. I read the newspaper. Then he said, oh, she said, go in the car. And she never gave up. And even at the end of her life, she was in the hospital. Hey, I used to go pray with her, read with her, and play music for her and stuff like that. And we pray for her husband. And then, after the fact, he said, hey, I went forward at the church at Farrington. He told me, Wayne. I said, oh, praise the Lord. And 25 years after the fact, his beautiful, wonderful, loving wife, she passed away. She went home to be with the Lord. And she never saw him give his life to the Lord, but the Lord heard her prayers. And he gave his life to the Lord. And now he's so, he's so tender, he's so open, he's a marshmallow. Like, I'm leaving his house, he said, hey, you're not going to pray. He reminded me, you're not going to pray. I said, oh yeah, sorry. But these are the things. How do you know whether you're not attained royalty or attained whatever it is, favor with these people for such a time as this? Guys, God gives us opportunities. The days are short. And you know what? Life is short. You just don't know. So, take advantage, take that shot. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. If I perish, if they tease me, if they shun me, they shut the door on me, you're not their friend anymore. Hey, it's kind of like that watchman on the wall. You call out the coming danger, and you let them know that, hey, these times are coming. And then, if you share the good news and all that, you do it in a nice way, it's off your hands. It's kind of like, hey, there's no regrets if something happens after the fact. I did my best, Lord. Who knows? Maybe, in the silence of his own heart, in the silence of his own bed, he came to terms with you, because I know what, we might give up, but you don't give up. So, I got that feeling that, I'm not going to give up. I still going to pray for these guys. And I'm just going to ask the Lord. And, God is hearing those prayers. God is answering those prayers. Guys are getting saved after the fact. Their parents have been gone for a long time. Their grandparents have been gone for a long time. But the Lord has heard their cries. We pray for the little kids. Some of them, they walk with the Lord. Some of them, they play the prodigal. They go their way. And we still praying for them. We still worry over them. James, your mother, she worries over you. She's praying for you. Same with Chance. Your parents are praying for you guys, loving you guys, asking the Lord, Lord, bless my kids. We still pray for those tough nuts, and God is hearing those prayers. God is moving in ways that we cannot think or imagine. Amen, guys? Look, half of us wouldn't be here if somebody gave up on us. God never gave up, So why should we give up? We should continue and we should press on, because who knows whether we have attained this place for such a time as this. Let's pray.